Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Shut the Front Door podcast. This is the podcast for real talk about real estate. My name is Johnny Kazumka with Harvey, Goodman, Realtor, and today I'm broadcasting from our St. Clairsville, Ohio office studio and following up from my last podcast a few days ago, which is now on Spotify. So just in case you haven't heard it, go give it a like, a follow, a share. And I open up the comment section again for anyone watching to enter into the chat, to open the debate, because we're going to pick up where I left off about a recent news article that I just saw this afternoon from WTRF saying something to the liking of this is the least affordable time in the last 17 years to buy a property. And it might very well be so. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. Increased cost, also the interest rates going up. It's no trade secret that everything from groceries to houses to cars, I mean, literally everything, just in the last few years alone has gone up. It's been more expensive to maintain your same level of your lifestyle just in the past 24 months than it has pretty much in any time in my most recent memory. So what does that mean for the real estate market in the Ohio Valley? So first things first, let me dive into the news article so you can see where I'm leaving off. Let me fix this microphone so I can go over here. All right. Owning a house less affordable than any time in the last 17 years, says a report. And the bullet points of the report are median home ownership is less affordable than in the past. Surprise, surprise. Home ownership costs took up more than 35% of the average wage. And the median price for a single family home is up to $360,000. Now remember these bullet points because we're going to come back to this. Let's start reading the article. Buying a house in the United States today is less affordable than any other time in the last 17 years, according to the real estate data company known as ATTOM. And I've already put up their website. You can go and visit them here at attomdata.com, about us, see their mission statements. But basically what they are is just a data collection company. And their mission statement is transparency for the, let me just read it. Mission is to increase real estate transparency and showcasing the steadfast investment in data and people. So, what they say is the typical cost of a home, including mortgage payments, property insurance, and taxes, consumed 35.1% of the average wage in the second quarter, according to this report. This is the highest share since 2007 and is up from 32.1% since last year. Rob Barber, CEO of ATTOM, said in the report that this affordability data presents a clear challenge for buyers. While home prices are increasing and mortgage rates remain relatively high, these factors are making homes less affordable, Barber said. Housing costs are one of the biggest expenses for Americans, and the national median price for a single-family home or condo has now risen to $360,000. So again, $360,000 is the median. Okay, it's somewhat of the average. We use the median typically when working inside the real estate field, but it basically saying that on average you can expect to pay $360,000. Now, why is that important for the Ohio Valley? Well, in my last podcast, you may recall that when people face financial hardship, they oftentimes will seek out more cost-effective means of living. So you might be living in an area where the real estate market has outpaced your salary, your wage. Wages have remained somewhat stagnant, but the market has inflated to the point where you're being pushed away. You're being pushed out of what you can actually afford. And people will return to places where they used to know as home. Maybe the Ohio Valley is one of those places, or more affordable places. And the other thing is COVID taught us that you can do a lot of work from home. So people are leaving the more expensive markets and finding more cost-effective places to live. Now, I ask you to look here at our area. So I've pulled up here Belmont County, Harrison County, and Jefferson County, Ohio. And I've also pulled up Brooke, Hancock, Marshall, and Ohio County in West Virginia. Some of them don't show here because they don't have the public records or at least the most recent data. But let's just look at Belmont County, for example. Going all the way back to November of 2023. The average sales price in Belmont, Ohio was $124,860. Then in December, it climbed a little bit to $143,561. Then it dropped back down in January to $114,716. Now, you can't really rely on these. These are just like what things were doing for that month. So maybe there was one big sale that helped inflate it. Maybe there's several small sales that brought it down. But what I want you to notice is that throughout the year, at least in the last, the last 6 months of data, at least it goes all the way to April of 2024. The highest point that it ever got in Belmont County was $174,721. Why do I talk about that? Because the national average is $360,000. And I said this in the last podcast. We are one of the cheapest places to live in not just the country, but in the world. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, just a few years ago, was named one of the most cost-effective places to live in the entire world. So let me go back to the screen here. Go back to here we go. That way I can try to read your comments on the screen. What happens in this market now? So those people who are putting your search on hold because you're waiting for the interest rates to drop. Look, again, I hear you. I understand it. I know exactly what you're talking about. Everybody wants the best deal, and I wish I had more insight to offer. I wish I can give you this crystal ball of saying the perfect time. But let me tell you this. Trying to time the market almost always ends in failure, because by the time you realize that you're living in one of the most affordable places in the country right now, and by the time you realize that the demand is going to be coming here because people are leaving the more expensive places to return home to invest into these more cost-effective places, if interest rates drop again, I ask you, what do you gain specifically from you waiting? Do you think if the interest rates drop now from 7% or whatever back to the 3 and 4% range of where they once were, do you really think the housing market here wouldn't boom again? Every buyer who has ever put their search on hold for the past 6 months to 1 year, Scott says, here's a takeaway. Owning real estate is always a solid long-term investment and an inflationary environment to the... I'm trying to read this, Scott, but it's cut off. Let me see if I can't fix this. Can I drag this out? Maybe make this wider. Oh, I think I'm going to have to check this out on the next one. I have to fix that later. But you're right. Just from the topic, or just the very first, it's always a solid long-term investment. And that's what the point of this podcast is that by trying to speculate on the market, by trying to time the market, you're foregoing the opportunity that exists right now. Hence the Scott's point, long-term investment. I'm not saying it's as opportunistic to buy as what it was just a few years ago, but what I am saying is that you have an opportunity right in front of you. Yeah, Scott, it's the key is to buy early. The pro move is to realize that it's always early. Right. Again, good point there is that everyone talks about like the best time. They want to look backwards. They don't necessarily understand that you're living in a actually decent point. I don't care what the news says. I don't care that it says it's the least affordable time in the last 17 years. That's talking at a macroscopic level. That's talking about the nation. I'm talking about the Ohio Valley. We are relatively immune to these large-scale economic negative factors to the point where if you're putting your search on hold, again, you're not thinking in the right mindset. Everyone wants to talk about the interest rate as if it's the only point of discussion for these types of transactions. I get it. I understand it. And if interest rate is a big talking point to you, if it's something that bothers you, let's have a topic. Let's have a quick conversation just about all the other alternatives. There are loans that have down payment assistance that could actually make your interest after the fact, your closing costs, it can make your interest rate go down. Math is math, right? So you're hyper focused, you're hyper concentrated on one thing for your search that prevents you from moving forward. And I can assure you, not doing anything at all is oftentimes the least, some of the worst things that you could possibly do. Consultation is always free. So don't let the news, don't let the shock and awe. It's likely also the most affordable time for the next 7. Yeah, it really is. So again, don't let the news, don't let what you see on CNN or Fox or these data analysis, don't let that be a deciding factor to you not making an educated decision. At the very least, I ask you to call me, I ask you to call Scott, my partner here contributing. I think you're in Columbus now, Scott, and I'm going to have to fix this live chat feed. But I ask you to call one of us and just have a simple conversation. There's no pressure. There's no push. There's no anything here that's, you're in complete control. I'm just, again, trying to advocate for these negative things that you see in the news that make people fearful from making decisions. Because, again, we live in an area where the median price is half. It is half of what the rest of the nation is doing. And I assure you, if the interest rates go back down, anything you thought you gained by inheriting a lower interest rate is going to be completely negated, if not just destroyed, by the fact that it will come with a secondary boom in equity. Housing prices are going to, if you think housing prices are high now in the Ohio Valley, wait until the interest rates drop again. If they drop, let's say they go back to 4%. Every buyer who has put their search on hold is going to enter into the market, and you're going to be competing with 10, 20, 30 other people for the same house. And every seller is going to recognize that, and it's going to go up. It's going to go. So whatever you thought you gained from that lower interest rate, you've just lost in the form of sales price. I ask you to at least consider, if you have to buy, if you're thinking of buying today and refinancing later is more financially, sound than it would be to trying to time the market. Now, again, this podcast, it's not. I try to use this as a prophecy. I hope these podcasts age well. And so far, I mean, everything that we've been talking about, we seem to see it in the news. We seem to echo it. It's not just us saying this. But the point here is this: consultation is always free. So that's why we do these. That's why Scott and I are here to help. We also have Aaron. We have Beth. Anyone here from Harvey Goodman, for that matter. We are all here to have a conversation. And again, it's always free. Anyways, thanks guys for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Hope you have a great day.